gave Combs his Lifetime Achievement Award. It seems almost overdue at this point when you think of this empire he has created. As Combs is standing on the stage accepting this award, he would say something that would change the trajectory of his life. He goes to this quiet moment and he gets really kind of somber, and he's like, you know, I had gone through these dark patches, these rough patches, low points.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I was in a dark place for a few years, you know what I'm saying?
And he specifically shouts out Cassie.
He said into Cassie, thanks for holding me down in dark times.
Also Cassie, for holding me down in the dark times. Love.
And when he did that, my first thing was, what?
It was this weird moment because Cassie and him had been broken up since 2018. She had 2 children, and so it was just kind of this weird pullback to their relationship when she was publicly moved on.
I remember there was this whole thing in social media, and people were like, oh my God, he's still in love with Cassie. We had no idea that Cassie had spent a decade trying to escape the alleged horrendous abuse she had suffered under him.
That was Diddy saying, I don't care about what you got going on right now. You're still mine. I'm still gonna mark this territory.
That moment when he called her out on stage, that was like a form of abuse.
And we know now that that triggered her and spurned her into action.
First met Cassie on a photo shoot, and when I saw Cass, I was like, wow, that girl is a superstar. When Cassie first met Diddy, she was 19 years old and he was 37 years old.
I want everybody to do Cassie too. Y'all know that.
Cassie would go on to be signed to Bad Boy.
She had like a top 10 hit called Me and You.
Signed to Diddy's label. What was it like the first time you met him? Were you starstruck?
I was so nervous. But we sat down for about 2 hours, talked about my career and the future, and it was great.
Cassie's first album was called Cassie. It was a well-reviewed, solid 7.5, 8 out of 10. So I think we were all waiting on like, well, shoot, bro, let's get it popping. What's next? Where's the new album? What are we doing? Never to be seen.
When Cassie became part of Bad Boy, my impression was there for Puff. She was there strictly being an artist. But then you begin to understand and realize that he always had intentions of making Cassie, I wouldn't say his girlfriend at that particular time, but having a relationship with Cassie.
To get her away from her boyfriend at the time, Ryan Leslie. Cassie claims that Diddy created this whole guise to get her down to Miami.
Puff said, Bonds, we gotta go back to Miami. He said, I got Cassie coming. He looked at me and I looked at him, and he said, yeah, I'm gonna get her now.
He invents this event that she had to appear at with flyers, the whole works, to get her to Miami alone under the pretense that she had to work.
So instead of them just working in the studio, he started taking Cassie to the clubs with him. He started bringing her out in hopes of winning her over.
In the beginning, it was kind of like, you know, me and the rest of the staff were just kind of like, are they messing around? Like, they must be messing around. But we didn't see anything romantic per se, right? Until the Miami trip. And the only reason why this all had kind of stuck out in my mind is because I just remembered him cussing out one of the assistants for not having condoms on the yacht.
I remember lots of parties in Miami, and I remember lots of drugs. At that particular time, I seen a lot of ecstasy.
see anything wrong with what was happening back then. You know, now that I'm in my 40s, I can see, you know, how it was a man in power that was taking advantage.
I began to see photos of them together, and I was like, wow, okay, here we go.
Their relationship became public, and as time went on, they became a status symbol, a power couple. Cassie was the loyal, devoted girlfriend. Diddy showboated her at the Met Gala, at different things. He posted her all the time. Cassie was the first lady to his president. Cassie says that Diddy quickly became ingrained in every aspect of her life. Her car rental was under his name. Her apartments were owned by him or rented by him. She said that he had her medical records sent directly to his email.
Any show that came up, any producers that wanted to work with her, any managers that wanted to work with her, you had to go through him in order to do that.
I mean, I thought Cassie would be someone that we would hear from more consistently. And I always wondered why, after the first album, we didn't really get anything else.
With Cassie, the way that he controlled her was by never giving her that career that she wanted, because she would hold on and keep reaching and keep trying to have that career that she wanted. Looking back, I have a lot of regrets on not speaking up. It was really difficult. It was like it graduated from one thing to another to another. When I knew that it was really a problem was one time when I just seen him beat Cassie up. We went to a big party on Sunset. And when I was waiting outside, I seen Cassie come out first. And then I seen Puff come out and he was walking fast. And then all of a sudden I just seen him out of nowhere just punch him. And then they started fighting there. I tried to at first say, yo, get inside the car. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? And then he said, no. And he started kicking her. And then she fell. She tripped over something trying to get away. And then that's when I jumped in because it looked like he was about to kick her again. I grabbed her and I threw her in the car. And then I threw him inside the car. Turned around and they started fighting inside the car. She was fighting from the back, he was fighting from the front. And so I'm busy trying to drive, roll the window up, and stop them at the same time. We got to the house, and then she jumped out. And then they went inside the room. Next thing I knew, he came out and he said, yo, get this bitch out my house. And then he told me, he said, yo, take her over to the London hotel. She was crying, her hair was crazy. You could tell that she had been beat up because of some of the swellness on her face.
The day that I found out that he was abusing her,
How can one not be racist?
I went up to the
Seriously?
bodyguard's room and I'm like, yo, like, what's up? Like, what's going on? And he's like, yo, chef, like, that went crazy on Cass again. I thought he was gonna kill her. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yo, he was beating the shit out of her. I don't even know how much time went by, but Puff came screaming up the steps and was like, yo, chef, like, what the you doing in my mother business? What happens in my mother house is my business. What happens in my mother relationship is my business. I don't know what the is your problem. Like, I'll end you. Like, I'll end you. Like, you better not tell nobody shit. He never once said, it never happened. I didn't do that. He wasn't remorseful in any way. Like, he was like just in a rage. I was really disgusted. But I'm also being quiet because I know that he probably really would beat me up. Like, I knew he was that mad. And so then he starts calling for the bodyguard to come downstairs. And he's like, why the you telling my mother business? Like, what the is wrong with you?
If you know Cassie, then you know that when something first happens, she doesn't want to talk to you about it. You know, whether she's embarrassed, whether she's ashamed. But when I did come the next day to deliver her some stuff, she opened up the door and she looked at me and she was like, Barnes, I can't do it no more. Whenever I talked to Cassie, I felt like it was a father-daughter type of thing. I said, you all right? And then she unbuttoned her shirt and she showed me the wounds and she was like, no, I'm not all right. I said, do you want to come back? And she was like, no, I'm not coming back. Probably was a week later, I was told to go pick her up. And I told Diddy, I said, oh, she's coming back? He said, yeah, just go pick her up. But the way that he said she's coming back, once you know Diddy, you know to leave it at that. Like, not why she's coming back or not ask no other questions. Just do as you told. Just go get her. You could tell her she didn't want to come back.
You know, my father beat my mother. So it was like, I didn't, you know, so I was just like, I kind of felt like, you know, in relationships, if people choose to stay, what am I to do? I can't, if you're not willing to go, I can't save you from that, you know? So I didn't really, I was very separate. I feel horrible now, you know, looking back on it. There's a lot of people that were complicit with keeping things quiet. People knew, and people kept quiet. Who would have thought that Cassie was going to be the one?
Mogul Sean Diddy Combs facing a slew of allegations, including rape and sex trafficking, in a stunning new civil lawsuit filed by his longtime partner, singer Cassie.
New York created a look-back window for survivors of sexual assault. No matter when the incident or assault occurred, they could bring a civil suit against their abuser. That opened up the doors for Cassie. Cassie had tried to leave her relationship with Diddy because allegedly he was also subjecting her to extreme physical and sexual abuse.
Diddy and Cassie's relationship was a lot of people's goals. So when I heard about the Cassie lawsuit, I was maybe 6 pages in, and I literally stopped what I was doing and got prepared to go live.
Listen, let's get right into this. Puffy, listen, y'all see me, you see the hair. I woke up for this. Y'all, I think it's fair to say, if these accusations are true, Puffy is a monster.
I was like, this is a cultural moment, and not in a salacious way, but I really felt like everything you knew or thought, everything you assumed was completely not just wrong, but it was dark, disturbing, disgusting.
Cassie claims that Diddy would have these sexual encounters arranged for her with other men that he called freak-offs.
Diddy was accused of conducting freak-offs where Cassie, on his behalf, would secure escorts or other sex workers to come and engage in sexual acts with her.
She claims that Diddy would film these encounters, that he would masturbate while Cassie was forced to participate or engage in these activities, and sometimes Diddy would join in.
I've seen questionable things, but I never knew exactly what was going on. It's been times where Cassie and Diddy would just go to the hotel for a weekend. And I would see guys get off the elevator, and I would peek and I would see him knock on Puff's door. Puff's assistant always kept these little mini recorders with him in his bag. And I remember specifically him losing the tape one time, and Puff was going crazy. I mean, everybody was looking for his tape. I said, yo, what is on his tape?